But somebody else said it was time to go, and now everybody's up in arms about whether Brock actually left or not. And apparently, the story was that when Brock was given a heads up that Vince was retiring and about to announce that on Twitter or whatever, he was, what the fuck? And uttered some, I believe I saw it on the internet, quoted as some derivative of if he goes, I go, and stormed out of the building. And I'm sure Heyman was involved on the phone or whatever, but they got him before he got on his plane and flew back to Saskatchewan, and they got him to come back. So instead of being on the first segment of Smackdown, he was on the last segment where he came out and beat up the young guy they're trying to push. He figured out a way to beat Theory without hurting himself.
Will Theory be Austin Theory again? That's a Vinceism.
I hope everybody gets their names back. I really do. At least, not even their real names, just two names would be good. As long as it's not Grayson Waller or Idris Enough. But so Brock bails, and he's a temperamental cat anyway, as Seth Franklin Rollins would say.
Scatman Rollins?
Right. Yeah, scatty-bebop. You cool cats and kittens. And little pussies. A lot of them around. But some people on Twitter I saw said, well, is Brock this close or such, personal friends with Vince? Well, yeah, they've been working with each other for 20 years, and Vince has paid Brock, by this point, tens of millions of dollars. So, yeah, they're probably friendly. I don't know if it's a goddamn I'd take a bullet for you situation, but I think Brock probably an offshoot of one of two things. Either he's like, what the fuck, without Vince, this place is going to go to shit. Or number two, he was probably offended at the concept of, because let's face it, everybody knows Vince didn't retire on purpose. We've, pretty much established he was never going to quit until he drew his last breath. But I can see Brock being upset that they're going to make him fucking resign. Fuck that. I'm out of here. I can see that.
I could also see Brock and Heyman figuring out this is a great way over the course of 2 hours, once word got out, to get more money for the future. Right now is the time.
Well, and we don't know what was the conversation that enticed Brock to return to the fold in less than 5 hours. But he stormed out before 5 p.m. Eastern, and he was back by 9:45 to come out and beat everybody up. And if Heyman got on the phone with him to try to talk him into coming back, I would have to think that financial remuneration and consideration would have to be part of that conversation.
Hey, let me ask you this. If he really said those words, and we have no reason to doubt it, if he goes, I go, and then he left, and Triple H is running the show that night, what are the chances that Triple H or Stephanie get on the phone to Vince? Say, hey, Vince, call Brock and tell him it's okay to come here. Like, tell him that you're okay with it. Do you think that happened? Or do you think that could happen?
Oh, if it was necessary, it absolutely did happen. If, by the reporting of the incident, they may have just tried to do that first, depending on what Brock's bitch was. If it was about Vince himself, yeah, they probably went to that first. If it was about, just the principle of the thing, well, why are they doing that? Well, then they may have gone to, somebody close to Brock, like Heyman, that he takes their advice or whatever. But it may very well have been either way that Vince, I just said Vince loves to be on the phone here a little while ago. So, he was standing by. It was some form of communication to that building and knew exactly what was happening pretty much as soon as it happened. So whatever the method was that they thought was best for Brock in Brock's state of mind at that point in time is what they implemented, I would think, first. But at least they don't have to call Goldberg for SummerSlam, because they were reporting it. The phone calls were already going out.
And word had just come out within a few days of that Goldberg was still under contract. They could still call him at any time.
Yeah. And pretty much almost needed to there, because that's the thing. What happens if Brock gets run over by a rainbow bread truck? Well, then they've got
Rainbow Brock. That's the headline.
But then they've got Roman Reigns, Goldberg once a year for diminishing returns at this point, and Cena's making movies. Major motion pictures and sitcom.
You know what, though? If Triple H really does have a hand in creative, this is going to be one of the things that we see the difference. Because for all the complaints we want to make about Adam Cole or Keith Lee or various other people when they get brought up to the main roster in WWE, or even how they were using NXT at the end, like Theory, Triple H did get those guys over to that audience. Now, again, that's an argument. That's an AEW argument. They're over to that audience. But NXT under Triple H did a better job of taking people. Asuka, who got over great in NXT, and now I understand why you think what you think of her on the main roster, because she got under Vince's control.
Yeah.
So I think it does give us a little bit of hope. And again, if that doesn't happen over the next couple of months, that's a clear sign that there's a bigger problem than we thought. But if all of a sudden we start seeing some of these logical changes that remind us of NXT of the past, it'll tell us what's going on.
Well, you just mentioned something, over to that audience. And that's an unfortunate thing sometimes because it stunts growth, especially with AEW. There's no way that anybody else will want to break into that little private club they got going on if they don't open up their doors to people who, just won't tolerate just anything. But with Triple H, he got guys over to the NXT audience. With the main roster, Raw and SmackDown, they have an audience, but nobody's over to it. That audience, I think, it's the habit. We watch SmackDown. It's what we do. It's what we've done. Sure, it's boring now. Sure, and Raw, same thing. Sure, it's boring now, but I've likened wrestling sometimes in the past to the horrible, abusive relationship that you don't want to bring to an end because you think that it will be better, but they haven't gotten any better. So they've got an audience, but nobody is over to that audience. And Triple H, since he did it once with an affiliated audience of SmackDown and Raw, NXT, maybe he can do it again, that since those people are still sitting there, at least he can get some of the guys over to him. Because right now it's the product, it's the brand, it's the idea of going to see the WWE as the casual fan that, we'll go to a SmackDown. But there's nothing interesting to really get people fired up and invested in that guy or that match or that feud, except when they bring in the stars from the past, because those guys are over. So maybe Triple H can at least help tighten up that loophole that they've come up with, where they've got an audience, but they don't care about any one particular individual enough.
We'll see. I mean, NXT pushed a guy named Tommaso Ciampa, and he got up to WWE, boy. And all of a sudden he's just a guy, and he has half of his name. We're not Gargano fans, but he pushed a guy named Johnny Wrestling on TV. So, I mean, there's going to be clear signs if there is a change, and it's a Triple H style change. But again, Bruce is still there. What's Bruce going to do? If Vince has no hand in creative, and creative goes in a different direction, yet Bruce is still the liaison between the office and whoever's supposed to do what they have to do, he's going to be able to just relay a whole different system of wrestling, a whole different way of looking at it. It's going to be interesting.
Well, I think ultimately all of these people need a good night's sleep. Vince, now he's finally retired. He hadn't stopped working in the past 50 years. He's going to need a good night's sleep, because that's especially important for the elderly, especially the elderly that don't have any hobbies and aren't going to really be able to relax no matter what they do. Or Triple H. Now he's got much more responsibility on his plate. and he's had heart issues. He's going to have to make sure he takes care of himself, gets plenty of sleep. Stephanie, she's got to dream up all kinds of different ways to cut Nick Khan's balls off and take total control. So she's going to need a good night's sleep so she can dream up those things. You know where I'm going with this, Brian? It all comes down to one thing. A good night's sleep makes you more productive, whether you're a plumber or a doctor or a lawyer or in high corporate intrigue at the highest levels of executiveness. That's what the people at Helix Sleep can do for you. Folks, all you got to do is take a 2-minute sleep quiz. If you're, for example, a recently deposed chairperson of a major billion-dollar company, well, now you got 2 minutes because you don't have a job. So you go to helixsleep.com, you take the 2-minute sleep quiz, they match you to a customized mattress that gives you the best sleep of your life. We've talked about them. They got soft ones. They got hard ones. You know, a lot of people that would fit, but they've even got medium ones. The mediums are the best. Not too soft, not too hard. Whether you sleep on your side, your back, your stomach, standing on your head, moving around all night, sitting cross-legged, whatever position you put yourself in on this mattress, it's going to be fantastic. That's why they were awarded the best #1 overall mattress pick of 2020 by GQ magazine. And those golfers, after a hard day on the links, they love a good night's sleep.
It's not golfers. We went over this already.
Golf Quarterly, I thought you said.
Gentlemen's Quarterly.
What do you mean, a golfer can't be a gentleman?
Well, some golfers are.
Do you think all golfers are just rude pricks out there? Why do you think they yell "4" before they hit you in the head with a ball?
I think golfers who cheat are not gentlemen, but golfing's obviously a game of gentlemen.
Well, the rules of golf are kind of negotiable, aren't they? You're out there in the field. There's nobody really watching you close. You got a long space between you and your opponent. You could fudge a little and nobody would know.
So you're a cheater?
No, I'm a fudger.
Golf? Have you played golf?
Never in my life.
Do you have any interest in playing golf?
Never in my life.
Why?
What the fuck am I going to do? First of all, if I want to go out in the middle of the field, I want some trees. I want some deer. I could take my dog to play.
You can hit the golf ball at deer and trees.
No,
just take the golf ball to tee.
It's a bunch of, like George Carlin said, a bunch of rich white fucks with nothing better to do chasing a little ball around a fucking field. They ought to take all those golf courses for all those rich billionaire white fucks, and that's where you ought to put the homeless. A lot of good ground property is being taken up by this ridiculous hobby that takes way too long and is boring as shit. But if you need a good night's sleep afterwards, you can get right on top of a Helix Sleep mattress. Did I mention you can take their 2-minute sleep quiz and they will match you? I've talked about the positions that you can be in on the mattress: missionary, doggy style, reverse cowgirl.
Oh, come on. Will you stop it?
So when you go to helixsleep.com/JCE and take that quiz, get matched to the mattress, they bring it to your house. So they don't bring it, they ship it. Every once in a while, you'll see an unmarked panel van pull up to your front door, and they'll pull a mattress out. But if I were you, I wouldn't answer the door when they knock. Helix will be labeled. You'll see the fine Helix label there. You'll know to open the door for those folks.
Well, remember,
what now?
I mean, there's no reason why you can't just have people leave it on your doorstep and you bring it in yourself. That's one of the great things about Helix mattress. It's not hard to move around, and then, of course, it all uncurls once you open it. That's one of the miracles of Helix.
It doesn't uncurl, it expands. And self-inflates. But I don't know about leaving it on your porch. It depends what neighborhood you live in. Up there, you got a problem with bears. You know, bears love these mattresses. As a matter of fact, every Helix Sleep mattress comes with a can of bear mace, just in case that the bears wander too close trying to get a hold of the Helix Sleep mattress. They're popular with all forms of wildlife.
It doesn't come with bear mace, for the record.
Not all of them. They've got a 10-year warranty. You get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free, and they will even pick it up for you if you don't love it. Of course, we've talked about the people that come and pick it up and the way that they'll treat you afterwards because you're a no-good prick that took shit under false pretenses, and now you want your money back.
they will happily say, oh, you didn't like it, we'll give you your money back and pick it up without any physical violence or
they sure
even
will.
curse
They
words.
will do that. And then a couple days afterwards, when the heat dies down, you just be looking over your shoulder. But right now, folks, Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. All you got to do, I mentioned it, go to Helix. That's HELIX, helixsleep.com/JCE. And you're going to get up to $200 off and 2 free pillows, depending on what you purchase and whether you pay for it or not. They don't like you if you purchase something and don't pay for it. That's not cricket. HelixSleep.com/JCE.